Okay, welcome back everybody for another video of Master of Spreadsheets. Today we're going to be going over the French roster in Master of Command. I'm going to start off by giving a quick summary of what roles units should be playing. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about uh, if you want to go for a shooting composition, this is your unit. If you want to go for a melee composition, this is probably your unit. So first of all, the Volunteer Fusiliers and the Swiss Fusiliers are going to be your best shooting units. If you want to go down a melee route, you probably want to go with the French or the Irish. But if you're going melee, then you definitely want to upgrade to Grenadiers. You're going to want to go again with the Irish or the French. The caveat to the Irish being that they have a very low unit count. Um, if you are want to go for a shooting based composition, you probably want to keep the Fusiliers. You don't really want to upgrade them to Grenadiers because you're losing 200 men and accuracy goes down, but reload goes up. So that's something like the extra reload is good, but the loss to accuracy and manpower, I think, are serious detriments. So definitely go Volunteer or Swiss Fusiliers for for a shooting composition. If you want to go melee, go for the Grenadiers, especially the French or the Irish. The Germans are kind of funky. They don't have the best melee stats and they tend to have the worst accuracy, but they have really good reload. So if you value reload or above average speed, then the Germans are going to be for you. But generally, I just think that they're a little more they're a little bit more specialized. And by that I mean they're kind of odd in that I don't think they do anything especially well besides reload. When it comes to cavalry, of course, if you value speed, you're going to want to go down the Hussar and then the Gendarmerie line. They're going to have really high speed, really high stamina. When you go from Hussar to Gendarmerie, you lose a little bit of charge, but you make up for it in higher melee, higher stamina, higher speed. If you care more about the melee of a unit, you're going to go down the heavy cavalry route, with the French dragoons, the French Norman cavalry, and eventually the French Royal Cavalry. They have incredible melee, and they have a larger unit count than the light cavalry line. Um, when it comes to the volunteer cavalry line, um, I see very little reason to go for the volunteer hussars. They seem worse in just about every aspect compared to the French gendarmerie. Um, if you want to go shooting, though, like a shooting cavalry unit, you'll go with the volunteer dragoons. They've got pretty respectable accuracy and reload stats. And then what's special about the French artillery is that they have larger unit sizes in their batteries. So their battalion artillery's got 6 guns, and their field artillery has 7. So that's pretty interesting. They don't end up being very accurate, so you'll need to take that into consideration. But you get a lot of guns, so it's kind of fun. Anyway, that's my quick summary. So now we're going to go over the unit stats individually. So first off, we've got the World Recruits. They've got 30 morale, 1600 unit count, 15 accuracy, 15 reload, 20 charge, 15 melee, 40 stamina, 20 speed. What's going to stick out is that they've got pretty low morale. They've got a very high unit count. 1600 is the highest unit count in the game. And then I think their accuracy and reload is like maybe on the average or even lower side for recruits. Here's the other thing. I haven't played as the other nations. I've only played as Prussia and Russia. Um, so I might just be kind of like making stuff up, comparing it to the other recruits. I probably shouldn't go into that. Um, in all honesty, so I'm going to withhold judgment actually comparing these guys to the other units because I haven't looked at their stats, so I can't accurately say how they compare. But I definitely know that their morale is low and their unit count is high. So that is for sure. Everything else, I mean, we'll get to it in other videos. Next, we're going to take a look at our tier 1 line infantry. So the tier system means it only takes one upgrade to get to uh, this unit. from Royal Recruits. First off, we've got the Volunteer Fusiliers. We're going to note that uh, they've got better morale, they've got better accuracy and reload than the Royal Recruits. Charge goes down, so you don't want to be charging in with them. But stamina and speed go up. These guys are the kings when it comes to speed. 30 speed is really good for French infantry. And it's the best for their line infantry. They are a little on the pricey side with 4 veterancy, so that's something to take into account. Next, we've got our French Fusiliers. They've got a little bit higher morale. They maintain their 1600 unit count. They've got higher accuracy compared to the Royal Recruits, higher reload. Charge is the same. Melee goes up a little bit. Stamina goes up. Speed is the same. And they're relatively cheap at 3 veterancy. So if you like your Royal Recruits, but you just kind of want a better version in every aspect, the French Fusiliers are going to be the way to go. I think of them as being a very balanced unit, and they're relatively cheap at 3 veterancy, and you get to maintain your 1600 unit count, which you don't maintain with the other Fusilier units. One more quick note, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but I color coded all of the units to reflect the different upgrade trees that they go down. So everybody that comes from the Volontaire Fusilier line is going to have this, sorry, got a little wild with my mouse wheel. They're going to have this light blue cyan color, like the Volunteer Grenadiers, the Chasseurs, and these Volunteer Cavalry units. So you can hopefully see how the units line up. With the French, it's also a little obvious because Irish Fusiliers are obviously going to be in the same line as Irish Grenadiers. They're not going to be like German Grenadiers. But I just decided to color code it. This was some constructive criticism that I received in a previous video to help differentiate the different upgrade lines. So I hope this is helpful. If it's not, let me know. We'll try to figure out another way to showcase upgrade trees. So we're going to talk about the Irish Fusiliers now. Irish Fusiliers have fairly decent morale, but their unit count really starts to suffer. They go down to 1,200 men. They've got fairly good accuracy. Reload is on the low side. It's actually the worst of all the line infantry. They've got the best charge. They have okay melee, good stamina, and average low end speed. It takes 3 veterancy. So when you go with the Irish Fusiliers, what's really going to be good about them? They're going to be more charge focused, and they're going to be uh, decently accurate. They're not on the low side like the French and the Germans, but they're not as high as you can get with the Swiss and Volunteers. So they're going to be kind of this like very accurate, take a shot, slow reload. So you probably charge them in, right? Take a shot, charge in. And they only take 3 veterancy, so they're on the cheaper side to upgrade too. German Fusiliers. They've got 40 morale, pretty standard. 1,400 men, that's good. 20 accuracy, which is on the low side for Grenadiers. But they're going to have high reload, 35. So these guys are just going to fire and fire all day. They have not super great melee stats. Stamina is on the low end. They're kind of fast. So how I would maybe use these is I would take advantage of their speed and I would get around on the flank of a unit and with this high reload, just go to town on them. Don't really want to charge into melee, but you want to take advantage of this reload. They're kind of pricey to upgrade at 4, so I don't know. Do what you will with that. Next, we've got the Swiss Fusiliers. These guys have really high morale, 55, 1,400 unit count, 35 accuracy, so they've got the best accuracy of all the Fusiliers. They also have pretty good reload, not the best, but it's very middle of the ground for the Fusilier units. But when you pair that with their really high accuracy, I think you're getting a good deal here. They don't have good melee stats. They're pretty poor. They're only better than the Volontaire Fusiliers, but they've got fairly decent stamina, slow speed. Here's where it's a little tough going into them, though, is you're going to have to get up to 5 veterancy. So that is a long time to wait for your pretty bad royal recruits to upgrade into this unit. You're going to be kind of suffering with royal recruits for a long time. But once you get to the Swiss Fusiliers, these are really good infantry, at least if you want to get into a firefight with them. Next, we've got the French veteran Fusiliers, which is the only like line infantry that's in the second tier. All of their other infantry is going to either be skirmishers or grenadier units. What's pretty good about the French veteran Fusiliers is that they're very well balanced. They've got 40 morale, so you got better morale than the French Fusiliers. 1,600 men, 30 accuracy, 25 reload, 25 charge. Melee stays the same at 20. Stamina stays the same. Speed goes up a little bit, and they cost 4 to upgrade to, which isn't too terrible. So what I see as being like the hallmarks of the French veteran Fusiliers is these guys can shoot. They can also kind of hold their own in melee, and you get 1,600 men. So you've got a lot going on here for you. Their morale, uh, I mean, it's nothing to write home about because you've got like German Fusiliers, Irish Fusiliers, even the Volontaire Fusiliers that are on par with them. So these you might be in danger of these guys breaking if they get in a tough spot, but I mean, I think they're a fairly well balanced unit. If you want a unit that can kind of do a little bit of everything, I think these are your guys. Chasseur, these are going to be your light infantry skirmisher type units. 35 morale, 600 unit count, 50 accuracy, 35 reload, 5 charge, 15 melee, 55 stamina, 35 speed. Only 3 veterancy to upgrade to them, so that's not too bad. So they've, of course, got pretty high accuracy. They got fairly decent reload. Don't get these guys into melee; they are going to get their butts kicked, and that goes for all light infantry. But it's just worth saying. Um, they're relatively speedy at 35, and they seem pretty cheap to upgrade too. So I haven't done an in-depth look on light infantry, so I don't know how they compare to other nations, but we'll get there eventually in one of these videos. Next, we've got the Volunteer Grenadiers. These guys are, of course, going to come from the Volunteer Fusiliers. They got 50 morale, 1,200 unit count, and let's actually see if we can compare them. There we go. 1,200 unit count, 25 accuracy, 35 reload, 35 charge, 20 melee, 55 stamina, 35 speed, and they take 4 veterancy to upgrade to. And so these guys are going to be a lot like the Volunteer Fusiliers. They're going to be fast and they're going to be pretty decent at shooting compared to the other Grenadiers. Um, the big differences from the Fusiliers are you drop 200 men, you drop 5 accuracy, you take a bonus 5 to your reload, you take a massive increase to your charge, going up to 35 from 5. Melee goes up a little bit, stamina goes up a little bit, and speed goes up. So these guys, in my previous France campaign, I gave them a bunch of move speed items and they were just flying around the battlefield. These guys were like secondary cavalry. It was a lot of fun using them. I enjoyed it. The only things I didn't like are they have a relatively small grenadier count for the French, and I mean I guess that's really the only thing I didn't like. Other than that, I think that these are fairly decent units. Next, we've got the French Grenadiers that maintain this hallmark of the French line of being relatively balanced. However, one thing I do want to note is that they have among the best melee stats for the Grenadiers in the French line, or like in the French nation, I should say. They're only bested by the Irish in charge, but they are on par with everyone else in melee, and they have more units than the other Grenadiers. So I think if you want to go for a melee Grenadier unit, you go with the French. I think these are your guys. Um, the Irish, uh, they have a little bit better charge, but you get 400 less men. You get a little bit better morale. You get a little bit better stamina, but I think losing 400 men is not worth the extra 5 charge, the extra 5 stamina, the extra 5 morale. I think that is not a good payoff for you. Um, but I mean, I'm sure there will be some people who swear by the Irish. I'm just not impressed by these stats. I think if you're going to go melee Grenadiers, you're going for the French. Um, and then I also think that the Germans get an honorable mention for melee Grenadiers, and that is because uh, their melee is on par. Yes, they have worse charge than the Irish, but they can move fairly fast. So these guys are going to be able to close the distance and get into melee more quickly than either the French or the Irish Grenadiers. Their stamina is lacking, unfortunately. So maybe they can get off like one good charge and then they might have to rest. Possibly two if you give them stamina items. Um, they've also got good reload. So you could go in with your one charge, destroy a unit, and then just let them form into a line, dump a couple of volleys into somebody, and then hopefully if you're when you've recovered your stamina, charge them in again. Last, we've got the Swiss Grenadiers, and just like with the other Fusilier slash Grenadier lines, the Swiss Grenadiers are going to be less accurate but higher reload, and that's true of all of the Fusilier Grenadier comparisons. Is that you're going to be losing accuracy upgrading to the Grenadier, but you're going to be upgrading your reload. And so the Swiss, they've got insane morale. They've got 70 morale, 1,200 unit count, which is pretty average for the French Grenadiers. 30 accuracy, 30 reload, 30 charge, 20 melee, 55 stamina, 25 speed. So you don't really want to be sending these guys into melee. They've got the worst melee stats, but they've got really good shooting stats. Again, they come with a very high veterancy requirement, so this is going to be one of those things where do you want to sink 6 veterancy points into upgrading to Swiss Grenadiers? Most of the time, I think that you shouldn't. Your Swiss Fusiliers are going to be better at shooting than your Swiss Grenadiers. I in my French campaign, I upgraded to Swiss Grenadiers just for the fun of it to have an all Grenadier army. Um, but I think that most of the time you're going to be better off just keeping them Fusiliers. I mean, maybe the one argument you could make to go with the Swiss Grenadiers is that they'll hold the line better at 70 morale, and they will absorb melee better with their 20 melee. And you can, I mean, 30 charge way better than 10 charge, but you're not really, in my opinion, you're not really supposed to be sending these guys into melee anyway. So that should really only be like a last ditch effort. Maybe if you run out of ammunition or a unit's really close to breaking and you just need to run in and rout them. Next, we're going to take a look at the French Provincial Cavalry. These guys have got 45 morale, 400 unit count, 5 accuracy and reload, 20 charge, 25 melee, 55 stamina, 40 speed. It takes 5 points to go from the Cantonists. Sorry, I always default to calling the recruits Cantonist recruits. It's a really bad habit of mine. It takes 5 veterancy points to go from the Royal recruits to the Provincial Cavalry. So that's a significant time investment. Um, you're gonna have to ask yourself if you want to make that investment, especially because Provincial Cavalry are so lackluster. I think the French Provincial Cavalry is probably a little on the better side because the French have good cavalry, but they're still Provincial Cavalry. They've got a low unit count. They've got pretty bad melee. Um, it's gonna be painful upgrading to these guys and then trying to reach the next upgrade. Moving on, we have the differentiation of Tier 2 French cavalry. So we have their light cavalry line in the French Hussars. These, of course, upgrade out of the Provincial cavalry line. And they're going to be 55 morale, 400 entities, 5 accuracy, 10 reload, 40 charge, 30 melee, 70 stamina, 55 speed. It's going to take you 5 veterancy points to upgrade them. So this is where French cavalry really starts picking up, right? We see a massive increase in speed, a massive increase in stamina, a decent boost to melee, huge charge bonus, slight reload bonus, and better morale. And so this is just going to come down to what do you value with your cavalry? If you like speed, if you like stamina, if you like charge damage, you're going to go with the light cavalry. You're going to go down the Hussar line. However, if you value more um, of a shooting or a entity or a unit that has a higher entity count, the French Dragoons are going to be your go-to. And even though their melee stats pale in comparison to the French Hussars, it's because these guys are a stepping stone to the heavy cavalry line. They kind of occupy a niche position where they are more shooting focused than they are melee focused. But they can do a little bit of melee in a pinch, and they have a higher unit count, so they're not going to just crumble and die as quickly as the provincial cavalry. So all of that is to say, if you like equipping your cavalry with carbines and just letting them go to town, the French dragoons are going to be what you want to upgrade into from the provincial cavalry, and eventually these guys are going to become these elite heavy cavalry units, and we will go over them in a minute. Next, we have the Volontaire Provincial Cavalry, and I'm really not impressed by this unit. It's got 40 morale, 400 entities, 20 accuracy, 15 reload, 15 charge, 20 melee, 55 stamina, 45 speed. However, it does only take 2 points to upgrade from the Volontaire Fusiliers. Sorry. Yeah, the Volunteer Fusiliers. So that's kind of interesting. However, it's still going to take a while to get here because if you go from Royal Recruit, you're going to need 4 points for the Volunteer Fusilier, and then 2 points for the Volunteer Provincial Cavalry. So that's still 6 points that you're going to have to invest um, versus the it's only 5 to go. Sorry, it's going to be more points going from Royal Recruit to this second tier cavalry. Um, However, it's because the volunteer provincial cavalry are just not in the same league as these other two tier 2 units. So they are very cheap to upgrade into. However, in my opinion, they aren't even as good as the provincial cavalry. So they have lower morale. They're better at shooting. That's the one thing I'll give them. They're better at shooting, but they've got lower charge, lower melee. They're a little bit faster. And so really what I was trying to say before is it's going to take you 5 veterancy points to go from Royal Recruit to Provincial Cavalry, but it's going to take 6 total to go from Royal Recruit to the Volunteer Provincial Cavalry. And that is because you have this stepping stone of the Volunteer Fusiliers. They're going to take 4. So all in all, I think this is a pretty terrible cavalry unit, especially when it's supposed to be like a tier 2 unit. Yeah, it's very cheap to get, but um, it doesn't even hold up compared to the tier 1 uh, provincial cavalry. So next we're gonna look at our tier 3 cavalry. So this one continues down the light cavalry or Hussar line, the French gendarmerie. Um, they're going to have better morale, a little bit better shooting. You trade off a little bit of charge to get more melee, and you also get more stamina and more speed. they're fairly good. My only the only thing I don't like about them is that they have the low unit count. I'm I put a lot of value on the unit count, especially for cavalry. Um, I just feel like 400 is really fragile, and you can't really trust them to go in and uh, not take a lot of damage, in my opinion. But these are really good light cavalry units. Don't just don't throw them out just because of the low unit count, just because of what I'm saying. They're really good light cavalry units. I'm sure people are going to fight me and be like, "Oh, you overvalue unit count." Maybe that's true, but nonetheless, these are good light cavalry. Next, we got the French gentleman cavalry. They're going to have a lot higher morale than the French dragoons. They maintain 600 units. Their shooting stats drop off, but they get better charge and they get way better melee. Their melee doubles here. Stamina goes up a little bit. Speed stays the same. And it's only going to take 3 veterancy points to upgrade to them. And I think this is a huge payoff. For 3 veterancy points, you're getting significantly better melee stats. You're getting better morale. You get a little bit better stamina. Yeah, your shooting falls off, but I mean, cavalry doesn't really occupy that important of a shooting role unless you want them to. You can keep the dragoons if you want, but I think most people are going into the cavalry because you want to throw them into melee and do some damage. Next, we've got the volunteer hussars. We're going to look at how they compare to the volunteer provincial cavalry. They've got better morale, maintain 400 unit count, accuracy goes down, reload goes up, charge goes up by a fair bit, 20 points. Melee goes up a little. Stamina goes up by a good margin, as does speed. It takes 4 points to upgrade into the Hussars, so not an insignificant investment. But if you compare these to the Gendarmerie, I mean, I really question like why even go for the Volunteer Hussars. They've got lower morale. They've got identical shooting stats, identical charge, 15 less melee, less stamina, and they're the same speed. I think that I think that you don't go for the volunteer hussars basically ever. Um, you're going to be better off going with the French gendarmerie. Um, Perhaps the one argument you can make is that you're going to get here possibly faster than you're going to get here. And that is because you're going to need you're going to need 10 veterancy. Uh, you're going to need 10 veterancy just to get to French hussars, and you're going to need 14 to get to the French gendarmerie. With the hussars, it's going to take uh, 4 to get to the volontaire fusiliers, 2 to get to the volunteer provincial cavalry, and then 4 here. So you're at 10 veterancy to get here. I think that's probably the only argument to make is that you get here in 10 veterancy, whereas with the gendarmerie, it's going to take 14 veterancy. Um, so yes, you get here faster, but I mean, is it really worth it? Mm, in my opinion, no. Maybe in the very late game where you're questioning if you'll get enough veterancy. Like if you got a like a royal recruit or a volunteer fusilier late in the game, and you're like, oh man, I really need an extra cavalry unit. Like I could see going this way, but if you're planning your army from like Act One or Act Two, I think you always go down the gendarmerie line versus the volunteer hussar line. Next, we're going to take a look at the volunteer dragoons, and I mean they're dragoons, so what they're really going to want to do is shoot. They've got really high shooting stats, better than the French dragoons. Melee's a little worse, speed's a little better. So If you want to go for cavalry that can shoot well, this I can see going down the Volontaire Dragoon line. This makes sense to me. And then last, we've got Tier 4 Heavy Cavalry, the French Royal Cavalry. And so if we compare them to the French Gentleman Cavalry, they're going to have higher morale at 75, 600 units. Accuracy and reload goes down. Charge goes up by 5. Melee goes up by 10. Stamina goes down a little bit. Speed remains the same. And they're going to cost 4 veterancy to upgrade to. So it's going to take a significant amount of time to get to French Royal Cavalry, but these guys are good. 60 morale, 60 melee, 75 morale. That's pretty dang good. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the French artillery. And for the most part, the French artillery can be summed up as you get a lot of guns. Their battalion artillery comes with 6 guns, which is 150 unit count. 10 accuracy, pretty low, but they reload very quickly. So you're going to have a big battery that reloads very fast, which is kind of cool. And then when you upgrade them to French field artillery, you're going to get an extra gun. You're going to get an extra cannon. Your accuracy is going to go up a little bit. Your reload is going to fall off. So if you value accuracy over reload, go for the French field artillery. If you value reload, I mean, I think you just keep them as battalion artillery because you're only getting 1 extra gun and you're losing 10 reloads. So the other thing is it takes a significant amount of time to build up to 7 veterancy to upgrade into the French field artillery. So that's kind of my overview of the French units. Something else I think worth mentioning that I think is pretty interesting about the French is that they only have 1 recruit. Every other nation in the game has multiple recruits. Why does that matter? With the French, as long as you find a royal recruit in the barracks, you can upgrade them into anything that you want. Their army is so easy it's really easy to craft the army that you want because you find a recruit and you turn them into whatever you want to. Whereas if you're playing as the Prussians and you go into a barracks and you're thinking, man, I really need a Cantonist recruit, but all you can find are the Freikorps recruits, I mean, good luck, right? You're not going to be able to upgrade them into the lifeguard that you're going to want eventually if you buy up the Freikorps recruit. And the other nations suffer that same problem. They all have multiple recruit units. So when you do find recruits in the barracks, and if you want to go a very specific style, then you have to hope that it's the recruit that you are looking for and not one of the other unit trees, because then you're going to have to either forego buying a recruit, or you're going to have to put a unit in your army that is not ideal for what you want to build. The French, they don't have that problem. You find a royal recruit, you turn them into anything you want, and I think that's pretty interesting. It gives their army, it makes it very easy to build it out in the way that you want, and chance isn't taking as much of a toll on that army building aspect. Anyway, these are my thoughts on the French units. I thought they were pretty fun. There were a couple of times where my units would just start running kind of randomly. I don't think they broke that often, but there were a couple of moments where they took some damage and they went running, and I didn't think it was a significant amount of damage. So morale is definitely a little bit of a problem. I don't think it's too terrible, but definitely something to keep in mind. Your morale is going to be low, so try to keep an eye on that as much as possible. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching this video. I hope you appreciated it. If you have a comment or something you want to add, please feel free to share. Totally open to taking criticism and feedback, and I hope you're enjoying the content. As always, if you like the video, please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. I appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next video.